Everybody. I see some new faces or faces I haven't seen in yoga before, but I've seen in other classes. So I'm happy that y'all are here. My name's Anna. This is our 45-minute faculty staff yoga class. So let's see, what was I just going to say? Oh, the only, what? Seriously. The only thing I have is that spring break is coming up. So we are hoping, this is like Miranda and I, TBD, depends on living well, but hoping to offer still that week of spring break, the Monday, Wednesday yoga and body blaster like we've done before during spring break, but we will let y'all know for sure next week. We've told Living Well that we're going to be here, so we might as well. But other than that, all you need today is some space around you, a mat if you have it, a block, or if you're in your office or at home, you can use a pillow or a book or anything like that. This class is for all levels of yoga. If you've never done yoga before, or if you're an experienced yogi, I give lots of options, so just go at your own pace. I do always recommend practicing barefoot unless you have sticky socks. Just being cautious if you want to wear socks. When we come up into like down dog, I've seen folks slip in their socks. So just be mindful of that as we are moving into some of those standing poses. It's nice to be able to grip the mat with our feet. Other than that, we are going to start with some meditation and breathing. So you can lay down or you can stay seated. You can lay on your side, your bellies, whatever you want to do, just getting comfortable as we start our practice. And feel free, if folks on Zoom, I do have folks on Zoom, feel free to listen to any sort of music you'd like, or you can just stay with silence. It's up to you. From here, we're just closing our eyes if that feels good for us today, shifting our focus inward. If we have blocks or pillows, we can use those in our starting meditation in any way that might feel good for us. We can either close our eyes or maybe take our gaze down to the floor or to a spot on the ceiling. Starting to think about how our body is feeling today, how our mind is feeling today. So maybe we start with that full body scan from the feet to the crown of the head. Just checking in, feeling free to keep moving. If we want to change positions, don't feel like we have to stay in the same position for our meditation today. And then I invite you to explore how your breath is feeling today. So maybe just noticing where we're feeling the breath, not changing anything to it just yet. Maybe breathing in and out of the nose if that feels good. I know allergy season is upon us, so if it feels better to breathe through your mouth, that's fine as well. And as you start to explore your breath, I invite you to think about your deep diaphragmatic breath. We call that breathing in from our belly up into our chest and exhaling from the chest back down to the belly. You're welcome to place your hands on your belly, maybe one hand on your heart, thinking about inflating the belly like a balloon, as big as you can make it. Lengthen each inhale and exhale. As we start to slow down our breathing and our body movements, we start to bring that sense of calm and relaxation into our mind. Maybe setting our intention for today's practice, whatever it is that we're wanting to get out of our practice today, remembering that we are in control. And so I always encourage any other organic movements that might feel good for you as you start to explore some poses today. Maybe if you get into a pose and you're like wanting something more or feeling something, feeling free to change it up or add something on at any point. You are in control of your practice. With each exhale, thinking about letting go of any expectations, letting go of any competition, and letting go of any judgment of ourselves and others. As we're ready, we'll bring our hands down by our sides, wherever we are, and start to move our arms with our breath. Inhaling, we sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhaling, hands come down by our sides. Just thinking about like a good morning stretch, waking up the body. Inhaling, arms overhead, either sweeping them by the sides or we can drop them straight up and straight down. We'll take 2 more breaths. And on your second breath, as you exhale, we'll draw the knees into the chest, rocking side to side. Again, we don't have to be on our backs. We can be seated. If we are seated, we are going to make our way down to our mats, though, so we can slowly roll ourselves down or walk our hands back behind us, letting our body come down to the mat. Knees still into the chest, and we can rock side to side. From here, we'll bring the feet to the floor in front of us. In line with our hips, hands by our sides, palms reaching down into the mat. Making sure the toes are in line with the heels, so parallel on our mat. As we inhale, we'll slowly lift the hips up to the sky into our bridge pose. Exhaling, slowly lowering back down to the mat. Thinking about pressing into the ball and heel of the foot as we lift. Exhaling, softening the chest and lowering it down. If we want to add some spinal articulation to this, we can. Segmenting the spine, starting with the tailbone, lifting, then the low back, the mid back, and the upper back, pressing into the shoulders. Exhaling, softening the chest, reversing it down. Tailbone is the last thing to touch. If we want to add on another element to our bridge flow today, as we inhale, we can lift our arms up and overhead with our hips. Exhale, slowly bring them down by the sides. Maybe we want to lift the arms straight overhead, or if we want bigger extension in the spine, we can reach the tops of the hands back behind us, like our breaths we were doing earlier, and then slowly lowering the hips and the arms back down by the sides. Just going only as high as it feels good for us. Making sure the shoulders are feeling good today. Keeping some space between the chin and chest as we lift our hips in our bridge. Let's take 1 more round of our bridge flow. And then we'll slowly meet back on the mat. Hands walk a little bit wider than our hips here. We walk the feet to the edge of the mat. And then just drop the knees side to side. Almost like a windshield wiper action. Releasing through the hips. Getting that nice internal, external rotation. Maybe a good time to check out how the hips, the spine, the back are feeling. And then as we're ready, we can walk our feet in, drop our knees over to one side, all the way to the floor, using our arm to press ourselves up, coming to the top of our mat. Shifting around so that our hands come to the front of the mat, feet to the back. So it's all fours, hands and knees is what we call it, or quadruped is the exercise science term. Making sure we have a space between the knees, hands under shoulders, spreading the fingers like starfish. Inhaling, we start with the hips, drop the belly to the mat, lift the heart to the sky for cow. Exhale, reverse it, chin to chest, round through the spine. Getting that full motion, full spinal articulation, extension, and flexion here. Taking it our own pace, inhaling to our cow and exhaling to our cat. One of the best exercises that we can do for our spine today and every day. It's a simple one. You can do it standing, you can do it seated. Maybe we want to add in some little tail wags, moving the hips side to side, seeing how the lateral spine is feeling. As we're ready, we'll take 1 more round of our cat and cow. And then as we're ready, coming back to our all fours, maybe taking a minute to roll out the wrists or take the palm to the mat, releasing through the other side. A lot of times we spend in that flexed wrist position, so we can reverse it, find a little release in our wrist. And then we'll come back to our all fours, palms on the mat, softening the fingers, pressing into the spot on the wrist or the spot on the palm where the thumb meets the palm. Inhaling, we press into our right knee and our left hand. We extend our right arm and our left leg. So pressing the opposite hand and knee into the mat, extending the opposite arm and leg. And then exhale, we switch sides. Inhale. That press into the mat is key for stability here. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to lower. And we can move through this at our own pace if we want to add on a little lateral movement, taking the arm and leg away, maybe testing our balance and core stability. This also is helpful for our lumbopelvic stability, so where the low back meets our hip. That's what we're focusing on, and the muscles engaged in the pelvic floor. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, lower. As we think about our leg and arm extending, we want the arm and leg at shoulder height. Shoulder height, so it doesn't have to be a big reach. I find it helpful to activate the glutes by taking the heel of the foot and pressing it back behind us. So can you try that? Maybe toes down. Heel of the foot presses back. Eye gazes down to find neutral spine, lengthening. And making sure that we're feeling this in our core versus our low back. So core muscles engaged. As we take our arm and leg out to the side, we're not shifting the whole body like this, but just taking the arm and leg out. If you want to see me, you can see a difference. So arm and leg move side, hips stay stable versus the hips moving. Taking one more round. And then coming back into our all fours. When we're ready, taking our knees to the long edges of the mat, as wide as we want to take them, hips towards the heels. We come down into child's pose. Any child's pose version that might feel good for us today. So maybe we want to keep our head above our heart, setting it on a pillow or a block. We can extend the arms out in front of us, relaxing through the shoulders, the upper back. Child's pose is a little hip opener, so maybe just assessing how our hips are feeling today. Child's pose is also a rest option that we can come into at any time in our practice, or any other rest pose for that matter. So if it feels better for us to lay on our bellies, our backs, our sides, those are also options. From here, extending our arms to the top of the mat, shifting our body forward. So similar to the all fours, hands and knees, we're coming back up, but we're coming into a plank on our knees. So hips need to be in front of the knees. So if you were to, from the side or from the front, it doesn't look like that much of a difference, but from the side, instead of this, walking the hands forward, shifting shoulders over wrists, and engaging through our core. So belly button to spine. As we exhale, we come down for a little push-up, elbows in by the body. Inhale, press back up to plank. Exhale, child's pose, sit it back. Inhale, come forward with the breath. Exhale, we can come all the way down to the mat if that feels good. Inhale, press back into the palms. Exhale, child's pose. Option 3, inhale, come forward. Exhale, lower all the way down onto the mat. Belly's on the mat, tops of the feet on the mat, like that. And then we roll the shoulders back, lift the hands, lift the chest. So it's a baby cobra. Press into the hands, shift back, child's pose. So I am not doing this because I have a baby in my belly. Many people know that, but it's not good to lay on the belly when you have that. So listening to my words here again, coming down onto the bellies from here, Pressing into our hands, we can come up into full cobra, shoulders roll back, chest to the sky. So instead of doing this, can we press out of the shoulders, roll those shoulders back, and then exhale back to child's pose. Good job. One more time with your half series. That's what we call this. Inhale, we lift to cobra. Excellent. We can always do baby cobra too. Pressing into the whole palm of the hand, elbows in, shoulders back. Yes. Meeting back in child's pose as we're ready. We can stay in child's pose if we'd like, or we can explore downward facing dog. In this pose, we lift the hips up to the sky. In that inverted V, you can bend your knees right, left, walking the dog, feeling a release in the calves, maybe checking in. How are your calves feeling? How are your hamstrings feeling? How are your feet feeling? In our downward dog, our biceps are right near the ears, hips to the sky, pressing the weight back so that it's not 100% in our wrists. And then from here, look to your feet, or look to your hands, excuse me, and then walk your feet to your hands. Find the top of your mat for a forward fold. I like to find the block in this pose to bring the ground up to meet us. Feet can be under shoulders, hip distance, or even wider. From here, soften the knees. So the goal is not to touch the floor either. The goal is to feel this release in the low back and in the legs. Low back and in the legs. So from here, if you need to deepen your knee bend, feel free to do so, or find that block and put your hands on it for a little support. You can shake your head yes or no, release to the neck. From here, we'll bring our hands to our shins, thighs, block or floor, finding that support. Inhale, lift up to lengthen the spine for our flat back. So eye gazes to the floor, shoulders pulled back. Exhale, soften and fold. Forward fold. Inhale one more time. We lift up to monkey or flat back, it's called. Exhale, soften and fold. From here, inhale, reverse swan dive. Arms lift to the sky into extended mountain. And then exhale, we sit back into chair pose. Hands can come into heart center, or we can extend the arms out in front of us. Chest is lifted, knees in line with toes. And can we just wiggle our toes in the bottom of our chair, making sure that weight shifted back. Inhale one more time, lift, extended mountain, maybe little baby back bend. Exhale, chair pose. Putting this all together in our full sun salutations. Inhale, let's lift. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Stepping back to find your plank, knees or toes. Inhale, we come forward. Exhale, options. So we can come halfway, all the way. Inhale to up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog or child's pose. Stepping to the top of our mat, we find that lunge. Inhale, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, chair. One more time with me. Inhale, we lift. Find your breath. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step back, find your plank. Inhale, come forward to your plank. Exhale, chaturanga. We can come all the way down. Inhale, up dog cobra or back to plank. Exhale, down dog child's pose. So you decide. Again, you don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm taking options, but you can do what I'm doing. Stepping to the top of the mat, find your forward fold. Exhale, inhale back to your mountain, and moving through these sun salutations at your own pace. So feeling free to go with your breath. That's the goal here of yoga. It's not to feel anxious about, oh, I'm not matching the pace of my instructor, or I feel like I can't match the pace of the breath. Go with your own breath. Your breath is your power and your control over these poses and the flow and speed of the poses. So feel free to eliminate anything that might not feel good for you today. Like for me, that's cobra. and chaturanga, right? So you don't have to do those. Maybe you don't want to do down dog. You can do child's pose. The goal here is to build that heat in the body, and we're getting all of this good flexion and extension in our spine throughout our poses to get the blood flowing to all of our major muscles. You'll do one more round of your sun salutations. Again, in these poses, it's 1-to-1 ratio breathing. So it's only one inhale to a pose or one exhale to a pose. So thinking about that to set your own pace. Once you finish your second round of your sun salutations, we'll meet back on our mats in either child's pose or down dog. So meeting back in our child's or our down dog, taking a few deep breaths, just noticing how this body's feeling now after a lot more of that movement. Heart rate should be lifted a little bit more. From here, we'll take our eye gaze to the top of the mat. From our down dog or child's pose, we're stepping our left foot to left hand. Left foot to left hand. Now the hands can come onto our blocks outside of our foot. That's my favorite version. Or they can come all the way to the floor. It's up to you. The biggest thing we want is that our knee is in line with our toes. So what I mean by that is if we end up here, we just walk the foot forward into that lunge. Let's walk our hands up the thigh to lift the chest. Inhale, arms to the sky. Exhale, left hand down, right arm up and over. Can you squeeze your glutes on this right side, opening up through that hip flexor? Inhale, both arms to the sky. Exhale, hands to the blocks or the floor. We're lifting that right knee off the mat. So we're still in a low lunge, but we're stepping it forward, coming up into warrior one. So left knee is bent, right foot is on the floor. Hands can come to heart center, or they can come up to the sky. Either position. Again, you don't have to match me. It's whatever feels good for you. Roll the shoulders back wherever we are. Make sure that this hip is happy. So if we come into this position and it's not, maybe step a little wider, right? Bending through the left knee, pushing down through the right heel. Inhaling, let's sweep the arms to the sky. As we exhale, we're hinging at our hips, long spine. Arms float back behind us. It's humble warrior. Keeping the core strong. Again, eye gaze is down, but the chin's not tucked, so there's a little space there. And we can look in the side mirrors if we have them, but shoulders back and down, squeezing through the shoulder blades, maybe feeling the triceps so that our spine is long and straight. Hands can always come to the thigh for a little support, but the core is also working here. Excellent. From here, sweeping the arms to the front as we take an inhale. Exhaling, hands come down, walking down our left foot, pressing the hips back. We can step a little bit forward if we'd like, finding our block if we'd like for pyramid pose. So from here in our pyramid pose, we're finding length in our left hamstring. So if your left knee is bent a lot, straighten it just a little bit, keeping a soft micro bend in the left leg, pushing the hips back. Finding this nice release in the hamstring, maybe a little stretch in the calf still on the right leg. From here, we're shifting our weight into our left foot, moving our right leg to the sky, or just a little bit off the floor into standing split. So it's our balance pose for today. Again, I like the block here for this pose. Working on a little ankle stability as well. We can always add a challenge to it by taking the hands off the block or the floor to the shin or calf. And then from here, even more balance challenge. We can tap the foot down if we need to. Slowly coming up. lifting that right foot forward for our one-legged Tadasana. So it's like our mountain pose, but just one leg. And this block, again, if we have it, is here. We can always just touch down. You've got that base of support as needed. From here, can we point our right toes, kick that foot out in front of us? Draw a half circle like a rainbow out to the side. Right side, reach the arms to the sky. And then we lean a little bit to the left. This is our balancing star. Star pose, I'm a star, I'm a star. Taking one more round of breath. Inhale. Exhale, slowly coming back to center, releasing that right foot. And we can roll out through the left ankle. All right. Inhaling, let's sweep the arms to the sky. Full mountain pose, extended. Exhale, swan dive forward fold. Stepping back to find your down dog or child's pose. And your option is to move through that half series. Option to move through the half series, or you're staying in down dog or child's pose. Down dog or child's pose. Yep. When you're ready from your down dog or child's pose, our right foot is going to step to our right hand, finding our low lunge. Hands frame the right foot, just like we did on the left. Feeling that hip flexor. From here, we walk our hands up our thigh, aligning the shoulders over the hips. Inhale, sweep the arms to the sky. Exhale, right hand down, left arm up and over. Squeezing through that left glute. As we squeeze the glute here, we open up more into our hip flexor on our left side. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, hands come to the floor or the blocks. We lift the left knee, tuck the toes. Step the left foot in, warrior one. So bending the right knee, left leg's long. We come up, hands to heart center or up to the sky. Either option. The option and the choice is yours. Remember, my body is different than yours, so you can choose what feels best for you. As we bend this right knee a little bit deeper, maybe we feel a little more stretch in the calf on the left leg, pushing down into the heel. From here, arms float up to the sky. Inhale. Exhale, hinging at the hips, long spine. Arms sweep back behind us. Imagine like you're holding something behind you. Squeezing through the shoulder blades. Eye gaze to the floor. And we're finding and just holding this nice humble warrior. Almost as if we're taking a bow, right? Excellent. Roll the shoulders back. Staying where we are. Just thinking about lifting through the chest. So there's that squeeze between the shoulder blades. As we take our next inhale, arms sweep out in front of us. Exhale, hinging even deeper at the hip. Walking the hands down the calf. Finding our block if we'd like. I like to step my left foot in a little closer. Shifting the hips back, pyramid pose. Relaxing through the muscles in the face and the jaw. Still finding our breath in each pose. As we take our next inhale, shifting the weight into the left foot, we're lifting the right, moving into our standing split. So the left leg lifts. Again, it doesn't have to be a big lift. It can hover inches off the floor. Maybe noticing if we have a little more bounce in our right foot versus our left. Grounding down into the foot. As we take our next inhale, we're slowly lifting the hands off the floor of the block, coming up into that one-legged Tadasana. So it's like a balance challenge to see if you can sweep that leg forward, bring it through. Excellent. Remembering that we have the block in front of us that we can also always tap down on for support. But it's just there for support. So we're not really pushing down into the block, if that makes sense, just lightly touching. So the weight's still mostly in the right leg. From here, we point our left foot extended out in front of us. We should feel the quad engage, drawing that little half circle to the side, the left side, squeezing, reaching through the leg, the glute, arms reach up to the sky. Inhale, exhale, little bend to the right. Maybe noticing if we have one side better than the other, or that feels better than the other, I should say. Reaching through the fingertips, squeezing through the left leg. One more inhale. Exhale, slowly coming back to center, releasing the foot. And we roll out the ankle. Fantastic. Inhale, find your extended mountain, arms to the sky. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Stepping back to find your child's pose or your down dog. And then your option is to move through your half series this one last time. If we're not doing our half series, we're just holding our down dog or our child's pose. Just holding down dog or child's pose. Yep. From here, we'll slowly lower our knees to the mat, all meeting in child's pose. We can extend our arms if we'd like, whatever version of child's pose feels good for us. This is going to be our last child's pose of the day. So just taking a few deep breaths here. As we're ready, we'll slowly walk ourselves up. And we're shifting ourselves to the long side of our mat, so we'll all face that way. Actually, I like my blocks for this next pose. So we're facing this way on our mats. I like to roll up my mats on the ends, if you know where we're going. I'm going into frog pose, one of my favorites for hip opening. And so as we roll the mat, we can just give our knees a little bit more cushion. We're taking the knees outside the hips, similar to child's pose. And then we can take our feet like a frog out to the sides. If that does not feel good for us, then just keep the feet in line with the ankles. From here, we're coming down onto our blocks or our forearms, either spot. And then play around with this here. So as we shift forward, we might feel a release as we shift back. Hips shift back, 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 and then we find a deep stretch in our inner thighs. So when I say play around with this, maybe inhaling, we come forward. As we exhale, we shift back, and that's where we feel that deep stretch in the inner thighs. It's a little different than child's pose in that our feet are not coming together, if that makes sense. So knees are nice and wide as we can take them. And then our toes are either straight behind the ankle or pointed out to the side. From here, maybe closing our eyes, relaxing our face and our muscles in our jaw. Taking some deep breaths. One more round of breath here before we move and change. As we're ready, we'll slowly walk our hands up, moving nice and slow out of this position as it is a big, deep hip opener. From here, then we can take our feet in on the mat, knees in, and then it's nothing pretty. We just unroll the mat. And we'll turn around to face me, extending our legs out in front of us on the mat. From here, let's walk the the right foot to the corner of our mat. Left foot's gonna come in to the inner thigh. Excellent. Sitting up nice and tall, inhaling the arms to the sky. As we turn towards our right foot, we exhale, find a forward fold, hinging from the hips. We can use our blocks if we'd like, bringing our hands up to them. It's whatever feels best for us. Only hinging as deep as it feels good. Remember that it's okay if we can't touch our toes. That's not the goal. It's to feel the stretch for us. Often we can feel better in this pose if we soften our knee, especially if our hamstrings are tight, or we can place something soft under the knee. And we can curl the toes in without touching them, just naturally flexing through the foot. As we flex through the right foot, we find a deeper stretch in our hamstring. Now from here, finding either our block or the floor with our right hand beside the outside of our right foot, we're slowly rotating our head and gaze up to the left shoulder and lifting that left arm up and over. Now the key here, think about your sit bones, the sit bones you're sitting on. Make sure the left sit bone is not lifting. So if you lean super far and you feel it lifting, then come back up a little bit. We want to focus on the side stretch in the body here. Reaching and pressing down into the right hand will help here as well. Taking one more big inhale. As we exhale, we come up. Inhaling right or left hand down, right arm reaches up and over for a counter stretch. So we're pressing into our sit bones here as well. We can stay here or we can press into our left hand, lift our hips up for wild thing. That's what this is called. Again, this is an option. We don't have to do it. It's just an option. Coming back down to the mat. If we're lifted, we'll switch sides. So left foot comes to the corner of our mat, right foot comes in. Sitting up nice and tall again, sit bones on the mat. Inhale, arms to sky, angling our body towards our left foot as we hinge forward. Once again, softening the knee as much as it feels good for us on that left side. And then flexing our foot. Can we try and see how that feels as we curl the toes in, as we hinge, feeling that deeper into our hamstring. Moving into our transition, our left hand is on the floor or the block, and it helps just as much to reach with this hand and press it down into the mat as we turn our body, and that right arm lifts up to the sky. Reaching and feeling that side body stretch, still pressing the sit bone of the right side into the mat. I find it helpful to take the gaze up to the right hand as well, so we're getting that full side flexion. Taking one more big inhale as we exhale, coming up. Releasing the right hand down, left arm comes up and over, and we can stay in this side body stretch, counter stretch, or pressing into the hand coming up into wild thing. Last little hip opener, and then slowly coming back down to the mat. We'll keep our left leg out in front of us, right knee bent, as we use it as a brake to slowly lower ourselves down as we roll onto the mats on our backs, or we can take it down the way I go. From here, bringing our knees into our chest, we can take a little rock side to side. When we're ready, bringing our feet to the mat. Arms are going to come out to the sides in that T position. We'll lengthen our right leg on the mat. Bring our left knee into our chest. From here, as we take our left leg across the body, slowly in our twist, our spinal twist, the shoulders stay on the mat. So the minute we feel that left shoulder lifting, we want to stop. That's our stopping point. We can use the block to lower our knee onto. Sometimes that feels nice. Only twisting as far as it feels good for us today. And if it doesn't feel good with one knee bent, we can also simply bend both knees and roll them over onto the side into that twist. As we're ready, we'll slowly bring our knees back to center. Once again, we can lengthen our left leg, bring our right knee in as we rotate the right leg across the body, left shoulder stays down, or option to bend both knees and let both knees fall to one side. Using the block to bring the ground up to meet us at any point. When we're ready, we'll slowly bring both knees back to center. Feet can be on the mat or knees can come to chest. You can rock side to side, or you can take one last little windshield wiper action with your knees. Making your way into your favorite rest pose for our final relaxation. This can be, again, on your back. Knees can be bent, legs can be extended. You can stay seated, you can lay on your side. Whatever option is going to be the most comfortable for you and the most relaxing. Once again, we can close our eyes, shift our focus to our breath. We can feel free to move to change positions. Once we do find that position for final relaxation, knowing that that stillness that we can embrace brings so many benefits to the end of our practice. All of that freshly oxygenated blood that we just constricted and challenged in different poses now is being sent out to our entire bodies. All those endorphins, feel good chemicals. And in this rest pose, bringing our focus back to our breath. So breathing in deep from the belly into the chest and exhaling from the chest and the belly. Thinking about how big you can inflate your belly, your diaphragm, how slow you can take these breaths. As you're ready, starting to wiggle your fingers and toes, just bringing that awareness back into your body and your space. Whenever you're ready, you can bring your knees into your chest, and we're just rolling to our favorite side. Rolling to our favorite side, using our arm as a pillow. It's the fetal position. Getting our blood pressure and our heart rate adjusted. We can use our arm for a pillow. That feels nice sometimes. And then we'll use our arms to press ourselves up, coming back to a seated position. Sitting up nice and tall. Let's take one last collective breath together as we inhale, arms reach up and overhead, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hands to heart center. We end our practice by saying something that means the light in me honors, sees, and observes the light in each and every one of you. So thank you for being here today. You'll have an awesome rest of your day and week, and I'll see you next time.